Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting Radio, your station for empowerment, music, and talk radio. EB Radio presents Empower Hour with Jaresha. A show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The Empower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Are you looking to build recognition for your business and brand? Asking for guidance isn't something to be afraid of. At Envision Broadcasting Radio, or EB Radio, we help you start a radio station and/or podcast to gain instant credibility for your business and brand, and grow and reach new audiences all over the world. Our team has you covered and wants your show launch to be done with smooth and ease. Our team provides you with a dedicated mentor and coach to ease the stress and challenges of launching your show. Our team takes care of your show flyer, intro and outro, putting your show on the podcast platforms, and creating a scheduler to book and manage guests. EB Radio brings empowerment music and talk radio 24/7 to 170 countries around the world to empower for growth and success. Visit www.envisionbroadcasting.com.
Welcome to Empower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore-Smith, and a little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 19 years of combined experience in education, finance, business management, healthcare, development, and sales, CEO and founder of Empower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal professional coaching and consulting services, executive director and certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envision Broadcasting Radio Station. So if this is your first time tuning in, I am super excited that you are tuning into the show, and I want you to know that I believe you have the power to be great, to have great, and to do great. You just have to be willing to unleash your greatness and take action. So on this show, I speak with leaders, motivators, and influencers who want to share their stories and journeys to empower the world for growth and success. So every week, we take a look at an empowerment quote that we are pondering and how it can empower us for growth and success. And this week, the quote that we are pondering is, "Don't worry about being successful, but work towards being significant, and the success will naturally flow," by Oprah Winfrey. Now, this is such a powerful statement and quote because, first and foremost, we get so caught up and worried about success and all that comes with it. We want to make these 6 and 7 figures, and we get caught up in the idea of being successful. We get so caught up in the idea of being successful that we miss something very, very important, and that is impact. What impact are you making? Whose life are you changing today? Don't get so caught up and wrapped up in accomplishing your goals that you forget to be significant and make that difference. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could change the world? There is no doubt in my mind that we all believe that our world needs to be better, needs to become better. Wouldn't it be amazing to have better neighborhoods, better schools, have a more positive workplaces? Wouldn't it be amazing to have more connected families, to have amazing communities where people get along and work together for everyone's good? Wouldn't it be better if we were more unified and positive and respectful? Wouldn't the world be better if people empowered and supported each other? The fact is that change is absolutely a possibility, but why aren't we doing it? We need to be doing more. Why aren't we doing our part to change the world and make an impact? There's a philosopher that said if we don't change the direction we're going, we are likely to end up where we are headed. Are we so caught up in the idea of success that we have forgotten our mission to make a difference? I believe that you listening right now can be that catalyst for change. And it starts with one boy, one girl, one man, one woman, one neighborhood, one community, one city. I can go on and on and on. It starts with one decision to do something different. And then and only then will success come. Thing that this is today's topic because today someone shared an really important question with me. And, I just have to say that I absolutely love questions, especially the ones that truly make us think. The questions that make us look at self and really check and evaluate self. Those to me are great questions. So this is a great question and I want to share it with all of you. I not only want to share this with you, but I want it to make you think. And I don't want it to stop with just a thought. I want it to cause you to reflect and if depending on your response to it, to do something different. So here's the question. If all of your goals were accomplished today, the entire world or just yours? Now I'm going to say that again. If all of your goals were accomplished today, would it change the entire world or just yours? What you do every single day is so much bigger than you. And it's then and only then when we show up to equip, inspire, transform, encourage, and empower others to make an impact in their lives that we become who we are called to be and live in our greatness. Now, tonight, my special guest is doing some truly amazing things and making a difference. I'm so excited to welcome to the Empower Our Teresa show, Delorean Andrews. It's so I'm so excited to have you on the show this evening. How are you, Delorean?
I am doing well. I am so thankful and I love what you're doing with your show. It's amazing to be able to touch the community. I wish so many people would take your lead. And I am doing well tonight and I am excited to be here. I'm excited to share my story. I'm excited to share the tools that I use to become financially stable and financially free.
You could take some time to introduce yourself and tell us about some of the amazing things that you are doing.
So it all started a long time ago. About 2014, I had a conversation with God, and I asked God, "Hey, what is it that you want me to do?" And what He laid on my heart was to continue to help the community. He wanted me to help the young men in particular who grew up in a fatherless home, the young men in the world that don't have an everyday mentor. So this all started with uh, creating a nonprofit organization, Release the Bricks. And what does that mean? Like people laugh all the time. Like, what does that mean? Some people mess it up all the time. They say pump the brakes. They have all these different names, but Release the Brakes means, I believe, my philosophy is that we hold ourselves back. It's like having a sports car. This sports car can go 190 miles an hour, but if you got your foot on the brake, it's not going anywhere. So I always tell the young people to release the brakes in your life. If you want to gain muscle, go to the gym. If you want to lose weight, hit the treadmill. You have to make the decision to release the brakes. Whatever is holding you back, release that brake. And if that's going back to college, release that brake. So that's where I came up with this slogan and a lifestyle and a mindset of release the brakes. So a little bit about me. As we spoke, I my father was from Dayton, Ohio. Shout out to Dayton. My mother was from Philadelphia, and my grandmother was from Miami, Florida. So it's safe to say I bounced around majority of my life in my early years. So I grew up with my grandmother and my mother, but I spent majority of my time with my grandmother in Miami. So I grew up in a fatherless home. Um, but I've always been good financially. My mother is a real estate guru in Philadelphia. She has been doing it since the early '80s, and I learned a lot of business savviness from my mother. So I I held on to that for many years as a child into my adulthood. Um, but as life began to change and I began to go through different trials and tribulations and making poor choices financially, I pretty much put myself in a situation where I was financially ruined. I'm not sure if you wanted me to expand on that, but I just wanted to give your listeners just an intro of my upbringing so they can kind of understand this picture of the man that I was and the man that I am today and the skills and knowledge that I have gained over the years.
I'm looking forward to really diving into it, a little bit deeper. I have to say that I love the release the brakes. I love release the brakes, and how you say that we have to release the brakes on our life. I think that's truly amazing. And I was thinking while you were saying that, like, oh my goodness, if that's not a word for somebody out there that's listening, that like you said, we have this tendency to go through life with having our foot on what is stopping us, what, coming out of whatever is holding us back, whether it's the comfort zone, whatever it may be. And just knowing that there are, you know, organizations out there like yours, people like you that are truly out there really, making a difference in helping those men, those young men. I think that is truly amazing, truly, truly amazing. So I would love if you would share a little bit more about, not just as far as that mission with helping the young men in within the communities and all of that, but more about what are some of the, I guess, some of the things that you're doing, some of the, whether it's activities, what, how are you truly helping these young men, really truly release those brakes that, they have, you know, been, really holding on to and that's stopping them from living their best life.
Yes, certainly. Um, so the experience that I had was I have a heart of gold, and I will give anyone the shirt off my back, and I've have in the past I did. Um, but I saw being in Philadelphia, and being in Miami. Miami really showed me you really see what it's like to live without. You see a lot of homeless, a lot of sickness in Miami. I'm not gonna say it's because of the weather, the heat, and everything, but people really look sick. Like people are really. You see what homelessness is like. So being as though I relocated from Miami to Philadelphia years ago, I I remember that. So I remember what I saw and witnessed growing up in Miami, and I wanted to make a difference in the community. So I started my very first mission was I was called to speak at a church, and then I spoke at a church, and people loved what I said and loved my story. And someone from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania was there, and they invited me to come to speak at Lincoln. And then somebody was there from this place and that place, and then it just grew. And I was like, you know what, God, what are you doing? I said, what is it that you want me to do? And he said, I want you to release the brakes for the community. But my very first community service was I raised off of my GoFundMe, which I still have active. I raised over $1,000, and I brought over 100 pair of $10 sneakers from Walmart, and I hit the streets of Philadelphia and I passed out sneakers to the homeless. And what humbled me was when I asked the some of the homeless people, men and women, what size they wore, and they did not know. They said they haven't wore their correct size in many years. Most of them wore sneakers that were too big, too small. So I just went out there and I had about 5 different uh, sizes available, and to see the look. And I have this video um, on my page, on my Facebook page, of I actually had the homeless people to speak and to explain to people how this helped them and how it impact and how people can get out there and just help. So that was my very first uh, community service that I did. My second community service was, again, I want to help the young men growing up in single father homes, single mother homes, or no father at all. And I created a workshop where I taught young men about how to tie a tie. And believe it or not, it is like an old art. Like a lot of folks still, even men to this day, don't know how to tie a tie or tie a bow tie. So I received a lot of donations, and I also received men that had old ties, and they donated the old ties to my organization. So I was able to afford to pass out new ties and also pass out used ties to the young men, and to see the look on their face after they learned how to tie a tie. And what really took it over the top was when the young men were able to take the tie home. It's like a trophy. Like they learned how to tie a tie, their first tie, and they took the ties home afterwards. And it just, the smile that was on their face is unforgettable. But one thing I did ask some of the young men, I asked them, when do you wear a tie? And what was so humbling and so sad at the same time was, I said, well, when would you get dressed up and put a nice suit on and put a tie on? And the majority of the young men I spoke to said, when you're going to court, or when you are laying in a casket. And that was their response to me, and it just broke my heart, and it showed me that this community in the world, and not just in Philadelphia, but everywhere, there needs to be more male mentors out there to show these young men that you can dress nice and not go to court. You can dress nice and not you know have to do it for a negative reason, but to look good and feel good. So really quickly, I've done the sneaker drive. I've done donating toys to the women's shelter in Wilmington, Delaware. I've done being able to give a scholarship to a young man out of Chester High School. I've been able to teach young men over up and down the East Coast in New York, the Bronx, and in Philadelphia, Delaware. So I've taught over 300 boys how to tie a tie. So there's 300 boys out there right now today that know how to tie a tie. And I just pretty much I just follow where God leads me. If there's anything that I can do back in Ohio, back home in Miami, wherever God calls me, I just allow Him to use me. But my biggest claim to fame, and the blessing that God had placed in my life was I had got an article written about me in the newspaper, in the Daily Times, and that's a Philadelphia paper. And in the paper, they talked about my tie tying event. And my orthodontist that gave me this beautiful smile after wearing braces for 3 years read the article and was moved to give not one, not two, but 15 young boys and girls from Chester, PA, the Boys and Girls Club, free braces, which came out to about $55,000. This man pretty much gave for free. Nobody had to pay any money. He brought his practice to the Boys and Girls Club, did a free dental exam, and eligible parents and eligible kids, the parents' other kids, receive free braces on the strength that he read an article and was moved to help the community. So I'm just truly blessed, and I just allow God to point me in the direction I need to go and release the brakes to be there.
Truly amazing. I love hearing your story and your journey, how, you just say that wherever God calls you, that you are just going to help others and all of the things that you have done in the community so far, and I know continue to do, is truly, truly, truly amazing. If you would share, you are doing some pretty amazing things in the community and truly making a huge impact and difference. What has been, or I shouldn't say what,
Who has been one of your biggest role models?
Role models. I would say, wow, I never really thought about that, but I would say my grandmother, and I give my grandmother that that honor because I remember my grandmother, and I love to just talk and freestyle and speak from the heart. So that's what I'm doing currently. um, I love to reminisce, and I remember my grandmother when the trash men used to come in Miami, and it's hot and it's 90 and 100 degrees. My grandmother used to always give each trash man a cold beer. She would run upstairs, and these guys have been working all day, and she would give them a nice cold beer, and they would appreciate her. They would dump her trash. They look forward to like taking out my grandmother's trash. But my grandmother had, and she's still alive. She still has a heart of gold. Um, and I think what growing up in a violent city of Miami, losing cousins to gun violence, watching cousins get locked up, going through my own trials and tribulations of getting into fights and gang life and things like that, I think back to my grandmother, and it helped me to have compassion for people. Watching my grandmother have compassion for everyone. I mean, if there was somebody on a corner, she would take them to go get a meal. If if a young girl needed to go to the store, she would take them to the store and she would buy them groceries or things that they need. So witnessing that growing up as a child, it reminded me of having compassion for people, and it stuck with me into my adult years, where I was able to be able to give back to the community. So I believe my who I am today, I owe it to my grandmother, to showing me what it's like to serve people and humble yourself to be able to serve people. Um, and yes, she is my inspiration, because without her, I wouldn't know. Growing up in Miami and seeing the things that I've seen and experiencing things that I experienced, I wouldn't know what love was if it wasn't for my grandma. I wouldn't know what compassion was if it wasn't, if I didn't see my grandmother do it in my early years.
we shared some amazing stories with us about how you truly, again, make such a huge impact in the community. And we know that in life we experience, those successes and those wins, but we also have those failures that teach us really, really important lessons. Can you share a lesson that you may have learned from, failing forward?
Yes, certainly. Whew, I learned a lot of lessons. If I if I had $1 for every lesson that I learned, man, I wouldn't have to work anymore. But I want to say my lesson that I've learned over the years is patience. I'm heavy into the stock market. I'm heavy into investing. I have my own, pretty much my own stock investment company. I'm a full-time aircraft engineer. So that's where my capital comes from. And I take that capital and I invest. So the lessons that I've learned was to be patient. There's times in the stock market where, I purchase a stock and I have all the research done and I second guess myself or I get impatient and I sell a stock and then boom, a week later it skyrockets. So I miss great opportunities with not having patience. And I believe for me, my lesson that I've learned was take your time. Take your time in life. I mean, don't become complacent, but allow yourself time to think. Allow yourself time to build. Don't. And this is for your listeners. The advice I would give some listeners out there is don't judge where your life is at off of what you see on social media, your cousins, Pookie and them. Don't compare your life to anyone, because when all the smoke clears and the makeup's off and the cars are returned to the dealership or to the rental car place, people have normal lives, but they seem like they have things going on, and people lose who they are trying to keep up with this false I don't know what to call it, this false perception of success. And I had to learn that lesson too, where, I compared where I'm at financially when I was going through a financial crisis a few years ago, when I have a brother pulling up to me in a Porsche and I'm an aircraft engineer and I'm still driving an old car. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But you don't know, or I didn't know that brother's story at that time. He could have rented that vehicle. He may not be able to afford that vehicle. He probably is up to his eyeballs in debt. Um, and I had to learn a lesson of patience and also not living for other people or trying to uh, reach other people's like standard. You have to live your life and do the best that you can.
Thing is, it's hard, it's tough. So it's such a, to hear you say that that was a huge lesson for you. Um, I know that so many of us, that's listening can identify with that, be patient. And then also, not to compare, because like you said, you don't know what other people's story is, and I think of social media, where we see all these different posts that go up, and you don't know. I mean, look, someone may look like they just have the ideal life, but at the end of the day, we can't compare ourselves, to other people, because you don't know their story. We just have to be willing to trust the process, trust, where we're at, and be willing to move forward with that. So that's
Absolutely.
so good. Yes, that's so good. And you shared more about yourself and some of the other amazing things that you're doing, which is truly, truly amazing. Is there anything else that you may want to share? I would love for you to also share your, information about your GoFundMe and all of that. But anything else that you may want to share about yourself, please, please take the time to do so. Um,
Yes, most definitely. I truly, truly appreciate your show. I appreciate you for having me on. This is just amazing. I I love to help the community. I feel I can't stress that enough. Um, it's sort of my way of giving back. You know, one thing I do in the aviation field, working with airplanes all day and helicopters, is I work with blueprints all day, every day. You know, I can't go into my job and do it without looking at a blueprint. So what I know that I was missing growing up was a blueprint, and I'm sure um, some of these young men and women are missing that in their life, that blueprint on how to get out of their situation. So speed it up to adulthood right now. Uh, One thing I love about myself, I will never change what things that have happened to me in my past or experiences because it molded me into the man that I am today. You know, I always talk to my family about, man, if I would have did this, what would have happened? But I don't really believe anything that would have changed in my past would have made me who I am today. I'm blessed to be well rounded and balanced. But uh, what really took me by surprise was my financial crisis, and I want to speak to that uh, briefly. Just going through a bad breakup a few years ago, having a whole house, a four-bedroom house I couldn't afford by myself, but I stuck it out. And, you know, I kept going to work. And I mean I was living from paycheck to paycheck, and I'm an aircraft engineer, it was tight. But I ended up having $25,000 in credit card debt, trying to survive, you know, paying bills with this credit card, and just like I just went through a meltdown, buying all type of luxury goods that I really couldn't afford, but I was in this false sense of like, hey, I'm in denial. So I ended up racking up about 25,000 in student loans. I had student loans to pay for. If you don't know, I'm a pilot part time, so I had to pay for my flight lessons, and I charged that on my credit card. So long story short, I racked up $25,000 in debt, and one day I just was like, I can't keep busting my butt at work. I mean, I was working overtime. I was like grinding, but it felt like I was volunteering. You know, every paycheck was going towards bills, and I'm sure somebody out there can relate to this, where I just felt like I was volunteering every time I went to work. So January of last year, I made a decision after looking at my bank statements and seeing that I paid almost $10,000 in interest over the course of 2 years. After I seen that, January 1st of 2020, I made my mind up to pay off that 25,000, and I did. I paid off the 25,000 in September of 2020, and I went from a credit score of 540 in January of 2020 to a credit score of currently 815. So in September, it jumped to 815. And I'm sharing this story because I want people to know, no matter how, I want your listeners to know, no matter how difficult things seem, you can always get out of it if you have a plan, if you have motivation behind you and the determination behind you. You can get out of that situation. And I've really had to dig deep. I've never in my life dug that deep to uh, propel myself out of that situation. On top of having a injury to my my Achilles, I was out of work for about 2 weeks, and the bills were stacking up. So it was just a storm of scenarios that kind of like took me all the way down. So I'm pleased to say there's some things that I want to share with the listeners. If you do need help, one, I am on Facebook. I'm under the name Delorean Andrews. You could just type in Delorean Andrews. Um, I am on Instagram with Release the Brakes DeLorean. You can inquire, you can inbox me. I will get right to you. If you want to email me, I am DeLorean 2008 at Gmail. And what I would like to do is, I did come out with a book, and my book, if I may, I would like to share my book with your listeners, and I would like to give you a copy for having me on the show. And I also would like to I'm gonna give you two copies, and you can give the second copy to, I guess, one of your listeners that one of your loyal listeners that have been listening to you for supporting you and everything that you do. I'm going to send you two copies if that's okay with you. But my book is called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. I have the link on my Facebook. You can go directly to my website on my Facebook and order the book directly from me. I do have it on Amazon, but I want to be transparent. Amazon takes 40% of the book sale. So to support me as the author, I would like for, if your listeners would, purchase the book off of my website on my Facebook page. I have a direct link on my Facebook page. And I'm gonna read a couple. And what my book is about, it's pretty much at my lowest point, going through the trials and tribulations of being financially in ruins, and having an injury. I started writing quotes down every day to uplift me and inspire me, because I'm a motivational speaker. Like, I've spoke up and down the East Coast, in the Bronx, New York, in Wilmington, at a detention center in Pennsylvania. I spoke at a church. I spoke at the University of Lincoln. So for the first time in my life, being a motivational speaker, I actually needed somebody to motivate me, and I had to motivate myself. So I ended up writing quotes down and hanging them up on the mirror. And yeah, last year I decided on my father's death anniversary. He passed away February 5th. I wanted to release my book, so it's been a long time coming. But pretty much my book has inspirational quotes that I came up with, and I'm just gonna read. I'm just gonna open the book and just read one. Not having purpose. This is on page 14. Not having purpose for all that you do is like driving down a road with no headlights in the pitch black darkness. So I do want to. I would like to send you two books. And to the listeners out there, again, you can go on my Facebook, and support me with purchase of a book. I also have my GoFundMe link on my Facebook as well, which I raised over $2,000. And with that, I take that money and I get the sneakers for the homeless. I've given out the scholarship to the young man, Troy. His name is Troy, in Chester. And I allow God to dictate where I go. Giving toys to the women's shelter in Wilmington. I just allow God to move. But you can definitely support me in either one of those events that I have, my book release, and my GoFundMe. And last but not least, with this financial literacy, I wanted to share my services with people. So far, I have a few clients that I work with, and what I do is pretty much a coaching session on how to invest in the stock market. I also teach classes and workshops. Before the pandemic hit, I was teaching classes on how to invest, how to deal with options, and just give tools on how to first pay off your debt, and the tools that I use and the method that I use to pay off 25,000 in credit card and student loan debt. So in these workshops, I talk about that, and I don't want to prolong. I just wanted to share some very important information that I feel is missing in the African American community, where, we're not taught financial literacy in school. We learn from trial and error. And I just want to save your listeners from making the same error that I've made and many of us make every day, by sharing my book, by sharing my website, and by sharing my services. And I would love to help anyone out there. You reach out to me, I'll reach back.
I am sitting here just listening to you share your story and your journey. And you wear so many hats, and there's so many amazing hats that all tie to really helping others and empowering others, for that growth, for success in the community, from the financial side of things to just, from confidence, self confidence. It's so much that you're doing. And I truly just want to say thank you, because I think it is so needed, as you shared. It's so needed. We need to have willing people that say, you know what, I recognize that there is a need in the community. And not only do I recognize it, but I am going to take action. I'm going to make a decision. And you made a decision to, continue helping even through some of the storms that you had going on in your own life. You recognize that, you need to be doing some things for yourself, and you made that decision. You made that decision. And I know there are people out there listening that, will be so inspired, motivated, encouraged, and empowered to do something about their current, situation based off of hearing your story, your journey. I thank you so much. I do want to ask you a couple of other questions as well before we end. You truly have shared so many amazing nuggets. I love the fact that you said that when you were at a point where you were going through, you would, lean on those quotes. You know that I love quotes as well. And so I love how you had them up on your mirror. I don't know if people recognize the importance of visualization and being able to see things and putting things up and reading and having those positive things around us. But it truly, truly makes a difference, especially when you're having to empower yourself, when you're so used to empowering others. So that in itself is truly, truly amazing. I've always it truly just, it just does something to me just hearing your story and journey. It's truly, truly amazing. So I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
You're so welcome. And I just want to say this one piece, and I know you have your questions for me. One thing that really got me through, one thing for your listeners to take away from this, write this down on a piece of paper. Fortitude. All right? Fortitude. The second thing is pray for, no matter what religion you are, pray for endurance. The hardest thing that I went through was the endurance to keep going. There's times where when I was eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, because my money was so tight, I would work 12-hour shifts, and out of a $5,000 check, I would only spend $100. I was that determined to become debt free. And a lot of people can't do that. They don't have the drive. And my orthodontist told me, he's from England. He's from London, England. He stated to me, people are born with a gift, and a lot of people don't possess that gift to push themselves to the brink of pretty much burnout. And you have to dig deep. If you want something, if you want to become debt free, if you want to lose that weight, to the sister or the brother out there that want to lose that weight, you have to dig deep and find that intestinal fortitude is the word. The intestinal fortitude, that resilience to get you to where you need to get to in life. It's not going to just come to you. You're not going to hit the lottery. That stimmy, they call it, that stimulus package the government is giving you is only crumbs. You have to look at it like, hey, I'm going to take this $1,400, I'm going to invest into a stock that I know, and I'm going to turn that $1,400 into $14,000 and use some of that money to get to your paying off your debt or financing your dreams and goals. So I just want to say this to the listeners. Pray for endurance to keep pushing and keep going. My book, the name of it, it came because I live off of that. I stand on can't stop, won't stop. Puff Daddy created that in the 90s, but I use that to keep pushing and not stopping and not settling for the mediocre, not being trapped on this hamster wheel of life where you're just going round and round on this hamster wheel, not going anywhere. Make sure that when you wake up in the morning, you have a purpose. You have, as Eric Thomas say, you have your why. Understand your why of why you're doing what you're doing, and I promise you, it will be like a fire is lit under your butt, and you're going to get it done, whatever it may be. It may be building that website that you wanted to build. It may be that business you wanted to start. It may be that book you wanted to write. A young lady at my job received my book, and she came to me crying and said, "Hey, look, I've been inspired to write my book. I've had poems for the last 15 years, and I've just been afraid, and I didn't know where to go to get my book published. And after reading your book and saw that you got your book done, and you have a nice cover, and you have a great publishing company, Black-owned publishing company also, she was inspired to hook up with the publisher and get her poems published. So I just want to say that to your listeners is pray for endurance to keep pushing, and get rid of negativity around you. If no one is trying to support you, if you are in a toxic relationship, friendship, surround yourself around like-minded people who are on the same path that you're on, because that's what's going to separate you from the people 5 years from now who's still in the same boat when you're getting out of that situation and away from being just mediocre.
That is so good. I was going to ask you, what is one piece of advice that you would give to our listeners how they can empower their own growth and success journey? I truly feel like you have given so much important advice. So I will, if you would still want to share anything additional, please by all means go ahead. But I truly feel like you have shared so many nuggets tonight for us to walk away with. I love it. Can't stop, won't stop. Is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners to empower their own growth and success journey?
I believe when I speak from the heart, I just drop jewels. I don't hold it in. For me, there's someone out there that needs this. I wish I had this years ago. So what you're doing is amazing. I want you. I'm speaking to you now. Keep up the great work. It's amazing. It's truly amazing to see um, when you started off last year and where you're at today, and just how much growth you have, and how much you have blossomed into this like amazing platform. So keep doing what you're doing, because you grab my attention, and that's not easy to do. So I know you're on to bigger things. Like this is just the stepping stone to get you to that that beautiful empire that you're building. I think your platform is amazing. I think the past guests that you had on are amazing. And I wish more people would share uh, more of their lives without like being too personal. But a lot of us are going through some of the same things, but we hold things inside. And I believe that when we hold things inside, we take that blessing away from others. I think sharing our stories can help a young man, or even an older man, or an older woman, or a younger woman. It will even help them to not make the mistakes that we made or that we make. So again, You are an amazing host. I thank you for having me this evening. I love to talk about motivation. I love our people. I mean, I got a little bit of Tupac in me. I have a little bit of Malcolm X, but I also have a little bit of Eric Thomas in me. So I'm well rounded, and I love that there's a platform for uh, people to come to, people to listen to get insight. This it doesn't happen every day. So I thank you for having the courage and the determination to actually make your dreams come true. And you creating your platform and your talk show, which is the best by far of show I've ever been on. I've been on like 4 talk shows so far, and I gotta say yours is the best.
Thank you. I truly appreciate all of, your kind words. I am so humbled, similar to yourself, because this is God. It's all God. So I can't take the credit for anything. I am just doing what I am told that I need to do, similar to what you shared tonight with your own story and journey. And I absolutely thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It has been truly, truly, truly amazing, amazing, absolutely amazing. And I am definitely looking forward to, getting your book and being able to share it as well. So I thank you for being an amazing guest on the Empower Hour with Jaresha show. Absolutely. So, listeners, if you are interested in starting your own show or being a guest on the show to share your amazing story and journey to equip, encourage, and empower others for growth and success, please visit that is www.envisionbroadcasting.com to learn more. Please tune in next Wednesday where you will hear an amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journey in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit www.empoweronpurpose.com. Remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.